nourishes us, and we lie down and rest in the green pastures. He restores our soul. Then he says, He leads me in paths of righteousness. And that's the correction that the Lord offers all of us. There is a sort of wrestling match throughout Scripture. One of the, we're not going to read the whole text, but one of the great places to go and visit is Deuteronomy 8. And it sort of jumps off the page what is happening in Deuteronomy 8. Moses is telling the Israelites, okay, you are going into the land that God has promised you and prepared for you. You are going to this place, and I want you to know that everything there is taken care of for you. There are going to be houses that you haven't built that you're going to get to live in, and there's going to be seeds that have planted that have turned into fruit that you didn't work to prepare for it. It's just going to be there is fruit there for you. God sort of blesses them unconditionally. He says, you have done nothing to earn this. You've just shown up, and you get to go in and have a house that is yours. You get to have fruit that you haven't worked for. This is yours because of my love for you. And when you get this love, when you get this blessing, when you get this cared for you, there is going to be something that happens. You're going to think you earned it. You're going to think that it's because you're so special, because you work so hard at it. And Moses offers this big warning and says, don't forget what the Lord has done for you. Don't forget how you got here and the blessings that have come because of God's benevolent kindness in your life. Don't forget what God's done for you. Well, I know you know the story. How did the Israelites do, right? They failed miserably. They didn't do very well. And there is this story sort of on repeat throughout the life of Israel. And there was a prophet, his name was Ezekiel, and one of the times that they found themselves in this cycle where they've forgotten what the Lord was all about, Ezekiel steps in and he says in Ezekiel 34 that I am going to send a shepherd who will redeem you. I'm going to send a shepherd who will lead you and restore you and give you a new promise. I'm going to send a shepherd to you that will call you out of all of this and lead you back home with me. I'm restoring His promises, and this is in Ezekiel 34. That my walk with Him is about His love. Yours is too. It's about His grace and His kindness. It's about Him opening up a life in His kingdom, and this is for you. And I think we can come to the place where we find ourselves in the thicket, and we just need to do this one thing that James 4 tells us to do. Humble yourselves, and He will lift you up. Humble yourselves, and He will lift you up. Friends, the challenge is about our pride, and it's about our control, and it's about all of these things. And His correction is this. His correction is to lead us in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. His correction is to guide us and comfort us with His rod and His staff. His correction is to give us His word and encourage us to study and seek His will and His promises. And it's not about the pursuit, and it's not about the effort, it's not about the work, it's not about all of these things that we end up making it. It's about our shepherd who has sought us and saved us. And so my encouragement to you this morning is to be humble. Follow my example in humility. That's a joke. It was a little deadpan and you missed it, so... Humility. We don't do so well at it. We think that sometimes humility is about thinking less of ourselves, or where I tend to go is self-deprecating humor. And humility is about the valuing of others. It's about dignity and love and respect and care. Not to get too political, but what was on display on Tuesday evening was not humility. Either way, either direction. Humility is valuing others over self. It's lost in our world, and we know nothing of it. You young whippersnappers are on the internet and you have your devices. What are those called? Smartphones. You have your Snapchat, and your Snapchat, your street cred rides on how many Snap followers. I'm getting like heads shaking at me. Like you don't know what you're talking about. But it's about follows, it's about likes, it's about favorites or something like that. Am I speaking somewhat truthfully? They're just giving me blank stares. But it is a gigantic popularity contest. When we were in school, it wasn't on the devices. It was, played out in the cafeteria. But our world is about making much of ourselves. And the enemy leads us down this track where we feel like we are unworthy and we haven't done enough. And the shepherd finds us where we are, and he leads us home. I don't know where this story finds you today. Maybe on the treadmill of effort, or maybe feeling like you've done so much that God could never find you and bring you home. But wherever we're at in the story, the response is all the same. Humble yourselves in the sight of every week there's something new.